Hello, Tar Heel Nation. We are back finally. I know, and I say it every time that we start, but we are back. We're still here, trudging through a very busy summer, and I got Gil here, which has become a pretty regular thing, and that's probably a good thing to keep me on task and keep me figuring out what I need to do. But Gil, how you doing? How's your summer been?
Oh yeah, man, it's been such a busy summer and it has been for Carolina basketball too.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, so we're gonna jump right in if that's okay with you.
Yeah, let's
Jump
do it.
into a bunch of news, a bunch of updates. So we were just talking right before we went live. The last time that we probably podcasted was the busiest time probably with Roy retiring and Coach Davis being hired and kind of what that meant for North Carolina. And I think even probably the last couple of times we podcasted, it was like, what's the state of North Carolina basketball? Because people were, the rumors of everybody transferring out and going pro, and we'd have nobody left. And what's our team going to look like? And how are we going to survive? And all that was going on. So, yeah, a lot has happened. So we got a lot of updates to go. We're going to start with transfers. We couldn't remember who we had talked about, who had already committed to us or transferred to us last time we podcasted, but we got Justin McCoy coming in. A little bit of a stretch four, we think, from Virginia, and he was just a freshman. So if he doesn't blow up, we got 3 seasons of him left. I guess probably technically 4 if they can use that free season. But and then we had Brady Manic coming from Oklahoma for his super season or whatever they're going to call it here, with kind of his 5th year, his COVID year. Again, another stretch, big shooting. And if you listen to the Carolina Insider podcast, just interviewed there with Jones and Adam. And then just recently, maybe our biggest one is Dawson Garcia transferring from Marquette. I believe another freshman. Am I right? He was a
Well, he'll
freshman at
be he'll
Marquette.
be a sophomore. Yeah, he made the all freshman team, Big East team, there at Marquette.
That's what I thought.
Outstanding season, and he was probably the prize of the transfer market, at least the late transfer market, if not for the whole season. So that was a huge land for Hubert Davis and his staff, and it for me really changes the dynamic and the ceiling of this upcoming season's Tar Heel basketball team. I think he can not only produce on the offensive end, he can step outside, make shots, but I think that he's going to be a difference maker on the defensive end. I think he's a high energy player and he has a lot of rebounding potential. And Hubert Davis really praised his ability to guard any position on the court. So the things that he brings, the intangibles that he brings outside of his ability to shoot, and that of course is certainly a trait that Hubert Davis and his staff desire. But on top of that, I think we got an all-around player. I think we got a real star potential there in Dawson Garcia, and that's on top of the Brady Manic and Justin McCoy transfers, both forwards. So there's going to be a lot more competition there on the front court than we originally anticipated. And man, it's just been 3 months since we last podcasted, and we were still like a lot of question marks in the air about the state of Carolina basketball. And man, in a short period of time, Hubert Davis has at least put us at ease and generated a ton of excitement for this upcoming season. I did see that Justin McCoy is actually going to be a junior, but you're
Okay.
right. We have that extra senior season. So he still has, I think, 3 years of eligibility left potentially in the system. Brady Manic just has one, and yeah, interesting interview to hear him on the Carolina Insider today. And he seems like he's just really focused, and he has his clear goals to make it to the second weekend in the NCAA tournament, and then go from there. So I'm really excited about the competition that those guys are going to have. That's going to bring out the best in each and every one of them to see who's going to earn those minutes.
Yeah, and you mentioned, last time we podcasted, it was really the big guys that we didn't know. I mean, Baycott was even in the NBA draft as of then. We kind of figured he was just testing, but we didn't know. So we were down to one, maybe even 0 big guys, and now the first 2 kind of bring some stability for this year, and even going forward with McCoy, and then like you said, Dawson Garcia kind of just puts that over the edge, and like I said, raises the ceiling. If the name doesn't sound familiar, we did recruit him coming out of high school But once Walker Kessler, it all comes back to Walker Kessler, right? But once he committed, both sides kind of saw that as the ending of that recruitment. We saw how many big guys we had last year, but if you don't remember the name, he was the guy that came into Chapel Hill last year with the last minute scheduled game with Marquette, and he kind of put it on us in the Dean Dome. So we know that he can make shots. We know that he can put up numbers in the Dean Dome. So
24 points and 11 rebounds against the Tar Heels in the Dean Dome. And so history likes to repeat itself, and he has so he's already had one good game in the Smith Center, and hopefully that means that he's going to have many more.
Yeah, we won't go too far down that rabbit hole of the Marquette game, but it is good to know that he can put up some numbers for us, and we got a guy that's can produce, and like you said, all around too. He's got the length. He can be a good rebounder. We don't know what Hubert's system's going to look like, as if he's going to emphasize rebounding as much as Coach Roy did, but he brings that ability, shot blocking, the athleticism, getting up and down, running the court, all that stuff. So a lot of promise there. So I believe that's all we got for transfers and for this next immediate season. I don't want to spend too much time on recruits, because normally our August podcast is all recruiting. So we'll hit that next month, given that we can get Blake back on here, and I don't get too busy. We don't get too busy, but we'll talk about that next month. But we did have some big time commits, again, since the last time we podcasted, and really pretty recently here. But we've had Seth Trimble, I believe, is a 4-star guard. There's been talk of him possibly, getting ranked as a 5-star or whatever, but he is JP Tokido's little brother, actually. So a little bit of help there, hopefully, from older brother, getting him to Chapel Hill. There was some pretty cool video and pictures of him pretty young shooting, free throws in the Dean Dome when he was there to watch his older brother play. So that was pretty cool. He'll be, I think, mostly point guard, but I think he can play some combo guard. And then we got Jalen Washington, another, I believe, kind of stretch big. And
he's listed as a center.
Okay, is he? And I don't remember.
5-star.
5-star. Okay, I thought he was a
5-star. 21st ranked player overall in the 2022 class, and the 4th highest rated center out of that class. And that was a huge get for Hubert Davis. His first 5-star recruit out of high school. So that shows not only can he identify talent in the transfer portal and secure getting those guys on a campus, but he's now doing it out of the prep classes. And Seth Trimble, also the development there was that he kind of snuck in and swiped that right out of the Juwan Howard-led Michigan program. All signs seem to be pointing that that's where Seth Trimble was going. And then, maybe we have JP Tokido to thank to some degree for bringing him to Chapel Hill. So I'm excited about those players as well. And Will Shaver, currently ranked 3-star, but there was just so few games last year, and the ability for the recruiters to get out and see these guys and rank them properly. I mean, that's all going to change, I think, quite a bit in the coming months, and before those guys get on campus.
Right. And even with that, we've had 3 guys come in and produce, and obviously we'll see. We've had big time guys come in and not be what we thought they would be. So obviously our rankings are a starting point, but I think it kind of shows, kind of like the transfers too, with Hubert bringing guys in. He kind of goes for stability, get some solid guys that'll be around, and then boom, we get this big recruit as well. And like you said, kind of showing that that for coaching wise or recruiting wise, the all around game there. We can get them out of the transfer portal. We can get guys that are going to stick around. We can get the big time guys. We'll get in different positions, kind of just covering all bases there. So we do have 1 scholarship left for this year. Obviously, that could be just given to a walk on as the season gets closer. I don't know. Again, we were talking to. We're not into the recruiting as much as Blake. So I don't know if there's other guys we have targeted for this year, or I guess for next year. But that possibility is there, or even for this year, I guess. Or we just give a walk on a scholarship as we've done in the past.
You made a really good point there, and I mentioned this. I wrote an article. I was grading Hubert Davis's first 3 months on the job, and it's hard not to give him an A+. And that article is live on Keeping It Heel. And that was an area that I emphasized, was how Hubert is targeting. I think this is a really well thought out plan of this level of talent that is going to be an impact player, but also a type of player that hopefully will be there on campus for 2, potentially even 3 seasons. So a little bit lower rated 5-star, and then the 4-star, 3-star guys that can have an impact as they develop over time, and they're going to coach them up. So I think that's a really good place, a really good focus point for filling in the roster.
All right. So again, we don't want to go too deep into the recruiting stuff. We'll hit that next month. And I guess this is as good a time as any is if you aren't subscribed, either on YouTube here where we're doing this live, you can hit subscribe and hit the little notification bell, and it'll tell you. Obviously, we haven't done this for a couple months, so we don't have a regular schedule, but it'll give you a notification when we do go live. You can join us, ask questions, join in our conversation. Or otherwise, if you're listening this later as an audio podcast, we'd love to have you subscribe wherever you're listening to make sure it comes directly into your feed so that you can see that and stay up to date with us on that and get our recruiting podcast next month. So just really quickly, too, I don't know how much time we want to spend on this, but NBA Finals are happening. There is a Tar Heel on each side. We got Justin Jackson for the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't believe he's seen any minutes in this series yet. He got a little bit in a previous series in blowout games, and then we got Cam Johnson for the Phoenix Suns, who's actually been playing really well. I think he's making some money here in the finals, or even these playoff run for the Suns, knocking down shots. He's showing that he can get to the rim. He had the big dunk over PJ Tucker.
See that dunk? That was awesome. Yeah.
So I'm sure even if you aren't watching the finals, you've seen that dunk through whatever channels you have that you stay up to date on Tar Heels. But I don't know, Blake, you got a side you're going for?
So Gil, first off, not Blake, but I'm going for the Suns, man, just because Cam's getting the playing time, and the Suns, they haven't been in it since like 93, back when they had Barkley against MJ. Yep. I guess I don't know, it's probably been a while since for Milwaukee too, but I just feel the Suns, I like their energy a little bit, and it'd be cool to see Chris Paul get one.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like Chris Paul, but I agree with you on. I'm kind of going for the Suns because Cam is actually contributing to that.
Yeah,
it would be nice.
That's the main reason.
Yep. So
one thing we haven't mentioned, Dan, is 6'6" Dontrez Styles and 6'4" DeMarco Dunn are going to be on next year's team, as well as those 3 incoming transfers. So we got 5 new players coming into the mix. And I think those guys are going to get some playing time as well. But did you want to talk a little bit about potential starting lineups?
Yeah, well, let's save that for the end.
All right.
I think you have it pulled up. You said the non-conference.
Yeah, I do have that pulled up
for the Tar Heels. And even before we get to that, it was announced recently that the Tar Heels will be in a Jumpman tournament around. I think that's around. How is that around Thanksgiving as well? I don't know if it's Thanksgiving or Christmas. I think it's a holiday tournament. Will be played in Charlotte next year, so not this upcoming season, but the 2022-23 season. Mm-hmm. And it's them and Florida and Oklahoma, and I don't know if I'm going to get the 4th team, but another team that is sponsored by the Jordan brand. And I saw in one article they said if it goes, I think that's a 3-year contract they signed, so they play each team, kind of like the CBS Classic. They rotate who they play, and then after that 3 years, if there's been success, there's talk of it expanding, joining in or allowing other Jordan brand teams come in and be a part of that as well. But it actually, what's cool about it is I think it's the women's team and the men's team are both there. And included in that, so that's different and pretty cool, I think, to get both of those. But that won't be until the following season. But this season, if you want to kind of run through the non-conference,
sure,
kind of the bigger stuff we got in the non-conference coming up for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, so on Friday, November 5th, and I think this one's an exhibition, Elizabeth City State. Yep. And then I think this is the first official game of the season on Tuesday, November 9th versus Loyola.
Yeah, I believe so. So that'll be, Hubert's official, opening
first
night.
Game. Yep.
Pretty big.
Then they're versus Brown at home on Friday, the 12th of November. Then they'll make their first true road trip to College of Charleston the next week. Then they're going to be in the Uncasville, Connecticut tournament. I forget the name of that one. They're going to be matched up with Purdue to start. That's a top 10 team.
Yeah, that I don't remember the name either, but yeah, that's going to be a pretty big couple of matchups for them.
Yeah, and then depending on how results shake out, they'll be playing either Villanova, another top 10 team, or Tennessee, a solid SEC team in that tournament. So they're going to get two good tests there at that tournament, and that is around the Thanksgiving timeframe. Then they'll be playing UNC Asheville at home, and then they have their Big Ten matchup, which has been a lot of Michigan here in recent years. So we're going to see Michigan again. And then they got Elon, Furman. Then they'll be closer to the Christmas holiday at that CBS Sports Classic at I think that's in Las Vegas, playing UCLA. And then finally Appalachian State just before the holiday break. So that's their non-conference schedule. The ACC schedule hasn't been announced yet, but probably going to see an ACC team or two before the start of 2022.
Yep, yeah. We have to remember that there's 20 games now in the ACC schedule, so they will start early and they'll come fast and hard at us.
I think this is a good mix of, some winnable games at home, games that you would going to be favored in, that you'd expect to win, that you're going to have an opportunity to build some chemistry and get some guys that you haven't seen playing for Carolina basketball out on the court, getting comfortable with one another. And then, of course, some good tests in there with some, brand name teams with Michigan, Purdue, UCLA, who obviously made it to the finals last year. So there's going to be some good tests in there, along with some good opportunities to see how Hubert's going to manage these minutes. He's going to have to figure out a lot of stuff, with this team. So it's going to be not only the players figuring it out, but the coaches figuring it out too.
Yep. Yeah, I think this is mainly, there's a lot of games in there that the coaches don't even get a pick anymore. The Big Ten ACC Challenge, the CBS Classic, we don't really pick who we play in those games. But to me, it's more of a Roy schedule. Charleston, I think that was set up ahead of time and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how it changes in the coming years, how Hubert schedules, differently or similarly to Roy. But I agree that it is, for this year, it is a pretty good balance of games that you'd think we'd win and, allow us to play all those guys. Because like you said, too, we got a lot of guys that you feel like are going to come in and be able to contribute. Obviously, the transfers have experience. They're all major transfers. It's not, guys coming up from the mid-majors that we've had that took even more of an adjustment. You think they come in and they're ready for that level and ready to contribute and get minutes, and they expect to get minutes when they're coming here. Brady Manic coming for his last season, and but even the freshmen, we kind of expect. We've got guys from last year, Puff Johnson, who didn't, was hurt a lot of it, didn't get those minutes. He wants those minutes.
I was just thinking about him. Yep.
We got a lot of guys, and yeah, like you said, Hubert's going to have a job here figuring out rotations and minutes and all kinds of stuff. Let alone of again, the style could be just different, and us watching a North Carolina game just might feel different on TV. There might actually be a timeout called if the other team goes on a run, or we don't know what it looks like. So there'll be a lot to go. And so, yeah, those early games with teams you feel like we just win because of our athleticism, we're bigger, stronger. And then also real big challenges, like you mentioned in there. So I like that schedule for us as well. And, we'll know a lot by Christmas.
Yep. But I wouldn't be surprised too, at the same time, for one of those teams that you expect us to do well against to give us a really tough game.
Right.
Historically, we've seen that early in the season, Carolina losing to teams, like a Wofford or, some of those early seasons where you're just like scratching your head.
You mentioned the first true road game. We're not going to a neutral site first. And even our freshmen from last year played against, or in front of, I should say, nobody. They went to Duke and there was nobody there. It was an empty gym besides the players. So to go in that first true road game into somebody's gym, and they're going to be hyped up with North Carolina coming to town. So yeah, it'll be interesting, but again, it'll be good for us, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all right, so I think we've hit kind of all the bullet points that I had. Made sure we cover anything. If there's anybody watching that wants to discuss anything else, you can kind of throw it up there and we'll maybe get to it. But otherwise, we'll get into kind of lineups that I don't know how you want to do it. If you want to do what we think is going to happen, what we want to happen, or our best lineup, our starting lineup, what we would do, what we think Hubert's going to do. I don't know if you want to take a certain angle on this.
And there's Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think we can probably agree that Armando Bacot is going to be our starting center. Caleb Love is probably our starting point guard.
Yes, I can agree on those points.
And then, I think Kerwin, he was a starter last year.
I don't think you can deny Kerwin. Did you see that feed today? There was something that UNC basketball put out. I saw it on Twitter.
Where he was running pretty much side to side and hitting the threes.
I think there was 5 spots on the court that he was hitting threes
twice.
from. And he went through twice and nailed every single one of them and hardly touched the rim. So I'm putting him into my starting lineup, and I want to see him shooting the ball. I retweeted it, and I said, I want to see him shooting every other possession.
Well, I think we were saying it last year already. He pretty much can't shoot enough. Like as much as, as many shots as he can get. Obviously, open within the offense and stuff like that, but pretty much he can't shoot enough. So
so I think that's our starting two guards right there, Caleb Love and Kerwin Walton.
So, and I guess it depends if you put Kerwin at the 3 or the 2 of who else is starting, or maybe you put him according to who you think's going to start. But you want to go first?
Okay. So I'm going with those 2 guys playing at the guard spots, and that leaves the 3 open and the 4 open. We got Armando Bacot. I agree that he's going to be the starting center. So I think Dawson Garcia is jumping in, and this changes things dramatically for me because I was first seeing Brady Manic being the starting 4, but now I see Dawson Garcia being the starting 4, which leaves the 3, which is still such an interesting one. I don't think that's a natural fit for Brady Manic. It's much more of a natural fit for someone like Puff, who we didn't see on the court a whole lot last year. It's tough to say that I'd pencil him as a starter, even though I'd like to see him earn a lot of minutes. Leaky, we've had long conversations. Everybody, I think that's a Tar Heel basketball fan, has had some sort of conversation about Leaky over the last couple seasons. He's certainly an option. He's got a lot of intangibles. He's a senior with a overall, new lineup. I'll say young to some degree, but just new to playing together. He could be a good glue guy. I wouldn't be shocked to see him in the starting lineup. And at the same time, his production doesn't warrant it. I'd rather see someone, whether you move Kerwin to the 3 and put RJ in at the 2, or if you try and fit in, who am I missing? We also haven't mentioned, Anthony Harris.
Yep.
So, he's got a lot of intensity, a lot of passion. He's going to play. He's good at energy, and he can bring that off the bench, and that's really valuable. So let me think on the 3, and let me hear from you.
All right. So now, are you going off of what you think's going to happen or what you want to happen?
Yeah, I was going more off what I want to happen.
Okay. And I didn't really think about this ahead of time, so I feel like you're doing off the fly too, so that's okay.
Yeah, I was.
So yeah, I think we got Caleb and Kerwin, we got Bacot put in there. And like I said, I think we all kind of figured Brady was going to start until Garcia signed with us, and again, we don't know what Hubert's going to do, but it's hard to, again, if it was Roy, I'd say he'd probably start Brady because he's that senior. He's got, the experience and stuff. But we don't necessarily know what's going to happen. Man, I just look at Garcia's numbers here. I'm looking at the roster, 6'11", 235. And he can shoot. We went through all the stuff that he can do. I don't know how you don't start him unless he just gets outplayed in practice. So I'm gonna start Dawson at the 4-man as well. Unfortunately, we're not disagreeing here enough. But and then I think he probably sticks with Leaky just to get the leadership and the stability.
Mm-hmm. And he's a natural fit at that spot at 6'8".
Yeah. And it's not like
too.
We've seen what he can do. Yeah, he can still do all those things. He can facilitate. He can take a little bit of the pressure off Caleb without kind of using your backup point guard of RJ. Obviously, we saw RJ and Caleb playing more together last year, and they did better towards the end of the season playing together. But RJ is really our backup point guard. So
that's what I see together. That's how I see it too. So although I agree, they started to play better together. And then I just wonder about Justin McCoy, a player I don't know a ton about, haven't seen a ton. Can
Yeah,
he
I
come
didn't
in and
either.
play the three? Could he potentially do that? I don't think he's a natural winger, but
Yeah, I think he could probably get minutes there, and I think it was Blake has kind of texted with us and stuff, like he thought Brady could get minutes there. I just don't think that's where the majority of the minutes come.
yeah.
So I'm kind of going off of what I think is going to happen, but I think it's going to be Caleb at least day one. Again, if somebody comes in and starts lighting up, and we couldn't keep Kerwin out of the starting lineup last year is one of the things we kind of had to do. But I think to start the season, we're going to have Caleb, Kerwin, Leaky, Garcia, and Baycott. And
Yep.
that's more of
Sabe
what
can
I
argue
think is
that.
going to happen.
Yep. I can't argue with that.
See, if I did what I would want to happen, I think maybe I would take Leaky out and put in. Man, it's
See,
tough to.
that's where I'm saying Puff. We didn't see enough of him, and I know
Well,
he had
yeah, I don't know if we saw
injuries,
enough
but
of him. I think Anthony Harris would get it over him, but I'm thinking almost like maybe a 2 guard lineup. Like, didn't Hubert Davis kind of mention something about Roy kind of showed him how valuable having two kind of playing 2 point guards together was? Or I feel like there was some kind of quote of things he had like taken from Roy, and one of them was having those 2 guards on the court together, or 2 point guards together. So, and I wouldn't mind seeing that. Again, we talked about obviously then you're
but then do
taking
we
your
have a defensive deficiency with Kerwin guarding, on the wing? I don't know. I
yeah
know that Kerwin's, I'm sure, working really hard to improve his defensive, skill set, but that is a little bit of a liability that we have to be
yeah
mindful of.
for sure.
And who knows about what Dontrez Styles could bring? I can't foresee him starting, but if
Right.
he ends up producing to the level that we've seen some Carolina freshmen produce in the past, could he warrant that wing spot? But I agree. I think what's likely to happen is Leaky. What I'd like to see is another player that just can shoot it a little bit better,
Yeah.
spreading the court out a little bit more, spreading the defense out a little bit more.
Yep. So yeah, all right. We don't have to go too deep. I'm sure we'll hit that topic again as we get closer to the season.
Indeed.
If you're listening to this, get onto Twitter at Yogi Gill. Tweet, fill up his mentions. What's your starting? No, you can tag me too at All Tar Heel Dan, but let us know what and you gotta specify. Is this is what you want to happen, or is this what you think Hubert is going to do? But let us know what your starting lineup, or put it in the comments on YouTube here. Let us know what you think the starting lineup's going to be, or what you want it to be. Before we go out, I know we're kind of running out of time here, but one thing we didn't mention in all of college basketball, not just the Tar Heels, but name, image, likeness was thrown into the mix by the NCAA at the last second. And we've seen some pretty huge deals. It's been fairly quiet on the Tar Heels fans. I don't know if that's school related. I know Bubba was kind of working and thinking about it behind the scenes of before it even happened, of how North Carolina was going to handle it. But we did see Baycott get one deal with Jimmy's Famous Seafood. And I believe I feel like there was an app or something that he promoted too, as kind of a name, image, likeness thing as well. But around the country, some big deals already happening for some athletes, not even just basketball and football, but some women basketball players cashing in big. What other big deals have I seen? Well, I know Percy, or what was his name? Miller, Percy Miller. I don't know, I feel like that's his dad's name. I think it's Hersey is the son, but going to an HBCU, getting a $2 million deal or whatever. But what's kind of your just broad initial thoughts on NIL here as it gets started?
Yeah, initially we haven't seen a big impact from the standpoint of UNC athletics. I wouldn't say so far. You got Baycott with Jimmy's Famous Seafood, and I think there's some other players that have put themselves out there on this Cameo, I think is the name of it, app,
Yeah.
where you can request them to give you a shout out or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna kind of be like small ripples over the course of the next season and a half or something like that, and then we'll really see how this plays out more like over a 5-year span. We'll see how it really changes things. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of taking it in right now myself.
Yeah, it kind of exploded on July 1st when it first came into able to happen. Everybody was throwing out a deal. Everybody wanted to kind of get that initial promotion, and now it's kind of died a little bit. And yeah, I think it's kind of a see what happens here. As far as how I feel about it, the way Tar Heels and Kicks kind of asked the question there, how I feel about it. I mean, I think it's about time. This is kind of the least they can do, and we see these big deals with a few people. I think those are going to kind of be pretty sparse. Like we can't judge the whole market on because one or two people get this in with certain people and get a big deal. I think it's more going to be this other stuff, but it's good for the athletes to kind of have that ability, take a little bit of power away from the NCAA, and just having their freedom to do that.
You think about a player like Cade Cunningham out of Oklahoma State last season, who would have likely been able to sign something pretty lucrative out of this name, image, and likeness. And he did a significant job just through the means that he had of building his brand.
Right.
And, I just saw it before we got on this talk here tonight, saw that, he's looking like, people might be trading up for him, and he's going to continue to build that brand for the coming years. And so he did that with a lot of exposure through college basketball. Now with the ability to earn some income on top of that through this name, image, and likeness, that's given a lot of players a lot to think about versus taking the alternative of playing overseas like Lonzo Ball did, or the D League, G League. Yep. So that just gives you a little bit more to think about, like what's going to be best for me in the long run. And it's not to say that some of these other routes that these other guys took wasn't a good route for them, but it just gives you, hey, I can do this also here. Maybe this is my best opportunity to build my brand. Maybe there is a different way that is better. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, and you're talking about the top guys, but even the guys, the fringe guys that were starting to go, even if they were going undrafted or late in the second round, now they can come back and probably make more money in college than they will in pros because they're off that. And like you said, build that brand too. Even if you're not moving up in the draft, you get a bigger brand within your college, community.
I mean, somebody, Bass Pro Shops needs to sign Brady Manic. I mean, come on now, like play up the Larry Bird lookalike, go with this. This is $1 million idea.
Then he's going to have to get that mullet.
Yeah, right.
Inside joke, if you haven't listened to the Carolina Insider, we probably shouldn't promote other podcasts. We need all the listeners we can get. But no, I think that's a pretty good, again, we can get deeper into that if people want us to talk about that later on. But like you said, I think it's play it out and see how it goes from here.
You're going to hear on that podcast, though, and I love those guys, that I think they promised me mid-court Duke Carolina tickets this year. So
that's a +1 too, right?
You better hope.
All right, so I think we've covered anything. Gil, you got anything else that we need to cover?
There's something on my mind, but I don't think it has a place here in UNC Hoops Talk podcast.
All right, so we'll hold off onto that. If it's good enough, it'll make an appearance on the recruiting podcast next month, which is coming in just a couple weeks here. But I hope you guys will subscribe. Hope you keep listening. Share out this podcast to your Tar Heel friends and family. And Gil, thanks for coming on. I always appreciate your time. Until next time,
Dan.
Go Heels.
Go Heels.